Welcome back to another HOF research session, and this week we will be looking at props and parlays for week 0 of college football. Super excited for this one. We're going to start off with some props, and then we'll go into some parlays, and Brian, we'll throw it over to you first. What props are you liking for week 0?
I got two props for week 0 and then a parlay as well, like you mentioned. But firstly, Aiden, we made it, man. It's football season again. Like, let's go. It was a long summer. We all, battled through MLB, battled through WNBA, but we made it to the promised land. And we got week 0 here, and NFL is right around the corner. So let's get started. First football pick of the whole year. I got Idaho State with the team total points over 19.5. Reason being, they are on the road, but 2024-25 season, they hit this line 73% of games. Last 10 games, they're averaging 32 points per game. And then when it comes to road games, 5 in a row, they're averaging 36 on the road. When it comes to the offensive side of the ball, Idaho State, high ranking in both total yards, total touchdowns, and their pass attack is very strong. So, I think 20 points is a lock for the season opener.
Yeah, no, Brian, I really like this one for sure. I think, first game on the road, they're going to be up for it. They're going to be excited. I am a little wary sometimes of FCS playing FBS games, just in terms of the amount of quality on the teams due to the funding through NIL and stuff like that. But I think their consistency last year shows that Idaho State are going to be, a team that's going to be putting points up on the board. So I really like the pick. What do you have for your second one?
Over to EJ Warner, from the quarterback from Fresno State. I'm looking at him to have 200 or more passing yards, and this is at plus 120, so a nice value, even money bet. He's hit this line 8 games in a row. The final game he's played, he had 430 yards, 42 pass attempts. He is transferring from Rice, so it will be a step up in competition. However, I think he has a pretty strong team around him with receivers, and they got to get the ball in the air to have some sort of a chance against Kansas here, who's 12.5-point favorites. So I think it's going to be pretty heavy air attack, and Warner's going to be slinging the thing around.
Nice, I like it. Yeah, I think that's another good one. You'll never know how transfers do, but in terms of the numbers he was putting up last year, and in terms of what you broke down in terms of the gameplay and how you expect it to kind of play out, it makes a lot of sense. My first pick is Kansas minus 6.5. Why I really like Kansas for this game is because they're at home, and Kansas, great atmosphere. Our friend Gary would talk about it all the time, about the KU games and how big it is for them to be at home. And I think it shows last season. Covered the spread, despite having a pretty negative year last year for Kansas, covered this spread in 67% of home games. And I think they'll be an improved team this year. And then Fresno State, a team that really struggled on the road last year, so failed to cover in 67% of games. So, yeah, I think in terms of an opener in Kansas, they're already a stronger team, and now being at home, seeing how they've performed, I think that's a really good one. And the value there isn't outstanding, but I think in terms of, if you're looking for something a little safer, around that minus 200 range.
Definitely like that. And note that the Kansas home opener last year, they won by 45 points.
So for my second pick, I have UNLV to cover minus 20.5. So that is a pretty aggressive spread. But UNLV did cover in 57% of home games. I think the big difference here being Idaho State being an FCS team, which in fact I think UNLV smashed the only FCS team they faced last season. I think the spread was minus 40 and above potentially. So an absolute killing. Yeah, was it 58? Yeah, it was absolutely massive. So that kind of gives me some good hope here. And then in terms of Idaho State on the road, they failed to cover in 50% of games, which again is kind of more of a middling amount. But again, when you kind of account for FCS versus FBS difference here, they failed to cover in their only game against an FBS team. And I think this is, this line is set at, let's see here. Yeah, another kind of minus 200. So I think this is another more safe prop. And yeah, I think at home UNLV will be up for it. And, I think Idaho could put up some points on the board, but I think they're really going to struggle to stop that UNLV offense. Now talking about, making a little bit more money, some more value. I think this is a great transition to our parlays, Brian. What are you running for week 0?
I'm going to like the builder style with 2 slightly chalkier bets to get, a nice even money lock. Yeah, so for my first player prop, I'm going to the Stanford versus Hawaii game. This is being played in Hawaii. I'm looking at the top receiver on Hawaii. Name is Nick Senecal. He's hit this line in 100% in the last 3, 100% in the last 5, and then 9 out of the last 10 games in a row, with that 10-game average being 68.2. So this is the number one guy for Hawaii when it comes to targets, when it comes to red zone targets. I think 50 yards is kind of a no-brainer for him, especially at home. He'll want to perform for the hometown crowd. I believe he is a senior at this point, so leadership, that is there. He's tried, he's tested, and the targets will be there. So I think that's a lock for the first leg. And the second leg would be Micah Ford. So that's the same game, Stanford. He is a running back. He's first on the depth chart this year. He was, I believe, RB3 last year. So he's going to be receiving bulk of the carries at this point. And 30 yards, I think, for an RB1, especially with, a kind of a balanced attack, I would call Stanford. And then, with the opposing defense at, kind of in that lower third percentile, not set up great for a strong rush. So those two picks together come out to be a plus 104 parlay. That's a same game parlay. So, bet 50, win 50.
Yeah, for me personally, I really like these kind of safe builders. And yeah, but on that note, I guess we're gonna go to a little bit more juice here. I have a 3-leg play at plus 315. So nothing crazy, but it is for the Iowa State Kansas State game, the biggest game of the weekend. Between 2 ranked opponents. And I have Kansas State money line, Avery Johnson 2+ passing touchdowns, and Jace Brown 50+ yards. Both players are returning to Kansas State this season, and this game is being played at home. And I think the big insight for me was this play hitting 71% of Kansas State home games last year. So in terms of Kansas State, again, we're talking about a massive advantage at home, as well as these players performing really well at home. Iowa State will be a tough test. I think this is going to be a very close game, but I think Kansas State being at home will take it. And another thing I really like about this play is like the kind of the combination between Johnson and Brown. That's kind of a relationship that's already been established. It's not like either of these are through the transfer portal, so we kind of know they have a strong connection. And I think if they perform well, it's very likely Kansas State then wins this game too. But yeah, super excited for this game and just for week 0 in general. And at plus 315, gonna get some good value on that one. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up for us in terms of week 0 props and parlays. But if you want to do more research for yourself, make sure to check out HOF. We're available on App Store, Android, and on the web as well. And you can use code HOFYT to get 50% off your first month using the link in the description.